Hey guys, my name's Rhama Dashuri, and this is the video on child abuse and abandonment and what I do to overcome my childhood trauma with the symptoms like PTSD, depression, anxiety, and anger. So we're gonna dive into it, but I wanted to let you guys know, if you've made it this far, thank you for staying in the game. The world needs you. We love you. And if you're watching this on behalf of a friend or a family member who has suffered from childhood trauma, neglect, abandonment, or abuse, thank you for watching and trying to understand what's going on inside so you can approach them in the most loving, unconditional way. So I grew up in a really abusive home with my mother, who was really angry, and I was beaten often. I was screamed at often. I was left alone often. And eventually, once I was in my teens, I was just sent away. And, there's so much, and the details don't really matter, but there was tons of abuse and neglect. And as I grew up and turned into this woman, I started to have a lot of problems in my friendships, my relationships, and at work, because I literally couldn't function. What happens is, when you come from an abusive environment, you grow up and you develop this subconscious belief that the world isn't safe. And you're not safe. It's not safe to be you. It's not safe to put your walls down. The world is just not a safe place. And this happens because, it's this subconscious mindset of, if my parents were willing to abandon me, send me off, leave me, neglect me, abuse me, then what is the world capable of? Even if this is not an actual question that we ask ourselves, it's still in the subconscious mind, meaning you're not aware of it, but it's very much there. And we're operating 90% of the time from our subconscious mind, which is wild. And from 0 to 6, you're really developing your belief around yourself and the world. So whenever something major occurs at a young age, whenever you experience abuse or negativity in a very dramatic form, it can really break you down as an adult, and you form this inner critic, this voice that's always telling you that you're not good enough, you don't deserve love, you don't deserve wealth, you don't deserve happiness. And at the end of the day, we end up doing a lot of self-betrayal and self-sabotaging. And what I mean by that is, the most loving person can walk through the door, the biggest opportunity can open up in your life, and we will sabotage those opportunities or those loving relationships, because ultimately, deep down, we don't believe that we deserve love. We don't believe that we deserve to be happy. So we cut out anything that seems of love, of light, because in a way we're punishing ourselves. We're punishing ourselves because we giving ourselves the short end of the stick, falling back into the pattern of sacrifice and suffering and pain and trauma is home. It's what feels normal. So in a way, we tend to create chaos, destruction, and drama in our lives because that's what's normal. That's what we feel like we deserve. And anytime we're getting anything other than that, it's wrong, right? We get into this place of, I don't deserve this. We hold on to a lot of shame and guilt. Like, you think about it. Whenever your parents do something horrible like that to you, you grow up thinking, what's wrong with me? What was so wrong with me that made them treat me that way? And I come from a home where it wasn't just the abuse and the abandonment. As a woman, my abuser won't even admit what they did. So, for the first time in my life, I kind of understood, like, when rape victims didn't have closure, like didn't get to seek out justice, when somebody was like, oh, that's not true, that's, they're lying. There's nothing more painful than something happening to you and your abuser denying it and painting you to be a liar, or you're making this up or whatever, and it's hard to accept that you are your own support system. And I feel like this is why, I mean, statistically, there's not a lot of hope for kids that come from where I came from. And I believe that this is why I was inspired to create this video, because I should not be where I'm at today. I should be on hard drugs, or in jail, or not, like, dead. I'm shocked that I am where I am and I'm doing what I'm doing. And even where I'm at now, that critical voice still comes in and tries to tell me that I'm not good enough, I don't deserve it, I'll never make it, I don't have what it takes. And, I'll never forget that, really wanting a mentor, because I looked around at the people that really influenced me, and none of them had my story. Nobody had lived a life even close to what I had lived. Nobody had experienced the pain that I had been through. And I remember, like, asking God, give me a sign, like, bring someone into my life, prove it to me that it's possible for me. And it was never more clear. That voice that people say that they hear, it was very clear. And it said, you're never going to find that coach Rhama. You're never going to find that mentor, because you are that coach, you are that mentor. But it's been really hard to come to the light with all of these things. I really only share it in, like, personal one-on-one conversations. I haven't put it online because I didn't want my followers to feel like they needed a victim story to have a success story. But if we're being really honest, there was definitely some shame and some guilt around what I had been through. And I didn't want people to pity me. I didn't want any more pity. Something else I developed from this environment was an addiction to my independence. So I refused to get help. And meaning, like, whenever I was sad, or when I wasn't doing well, or I really needed to talk to someone, I would sit on my own by myself. I refused to reach out to people because I felt like no one really cared. And coming from an environment like this, you will convince yourself that the world doesn't love you and the world does not fucking care. And you will isolate yourself in a way, because ultimately you're trying to prove to yourself that the world is as bad as you were taught whenever you were younger. And so what is the solution to all of this? It's breaking the pattern, being able to ask for help, being able to open up and not be so addicted to our independence or our codependence. Sometimes it goes like one of two ways. We either become so dependable on people because we don't trust ourselves, or we become way too addicted to our independent nature because we don't trust the world. And we are quick to self-sabotage and self-betray. So how do we break this pattern? The first thing that I have learned to do is release those people that have hurt me, but at the same time feel my feelings. Something that I like to do is I picture my body as a house. And whenever depression or anger or anxiety, like, comes through, I let it live in this room in my house. And I do that on purpose so that way I can still feel it. I still acknowledge it for a short period of time without identifying with it. So this is kind of something that I've just created to help me not identify with it, but recycle those feelings and eventually get to use it for good. I used to have really bad social anxiety because of all the prior, and it's something that I really don't have to deal with anymore. Depression is still something that I deal with on the regular. It comes up every couple months. Will I have to deal with it for the rest of my life? I don't know. But that's the second point, is instead of thinking about the long-term goal with your emotions that you're feeling from your past, try to think about just right now. What can I do right now to feel what I'm feeling, acknowledge where I'm at, release any resentment or anger, and at the same time forgive myself, release guilt, forgive yourself quickly, judge yourself less. Sometimes coming from a really dark childhood, we hold on to this guilt, we hold on to all of this shame, and this is going to sound like a little dark, but you have to learn to swim in it. You really have to learn to own that shame and own that guilt, and that's how you release it. It's a funny thing with these emotions, how once we accept them and we feel them, that's whenever we almost like they're free to go at that point. So feel your feelings and like write it down. Writing has fucking saved me, guys. Write down what you're feeling. Write down how upset you are. Write a letter to your abuser if you have to, and without the intention of sending it out, but maybe just getting out all of your feelings. The other thing I do in my life is I set boundaries and I get really clear, because in relationships and friendships, when you come from a fucked up childhood, you drive yourself crazy wondering, is it me or is it them? Is it me or is it them? Because they didn't go what you went through. So you automatically want to take the blame for everything that's going wrong in a friendship or a relationship, because you must be the one that's fucked up. You must be the one with all the issues because you're the one with the past. And I've dedicated years of my work to this. And it's called like clearing out the gray areas of spirituality. And there's quite a few of them out there, especially whenever it comes to setting boundaries. It's like, is it an opportunity to grow? Or is this like a boundary that's being crossed and these people need to go, So I'm going to be speaking about that in the future, but as far as relationships, be really mindful as to, is this just a button that is not healed yet? And my button is this big, and this person who has no idea about my past, has no idea about really what's going on inside me. Is it because I haven't communicated, I haven't shared? And they're pressing these buttons unknowingly, and I'm reacting and I'm cutting these toxic people out of my life because I haven't focused on my healing? Or is it a boundary that's being crossed? Have you actually communicated your feelings? Have you communicated, hey, this is a no, we don't go here. This is something that really hurts me. Please don't say these things. And these people that love you are deliberately going there anyways. That's where you set a boundary, and boundaries mean consequences. You have to have consequences for the people in your life that are going to continually cross that boundary. And most of the time it's like, I'm not going to pick up the phone when you call. I'm not going to hang out with this person anymore. Maybe that's whenever you have to make a difficult choice of, does this person actually deserve being in my reality? Is this person actually serving me? So that's one gray area that I encourage you to clear up in your life when it comes to setting boundaries or opportunities to grow, especially whenever you come from a traumatic childhood. Forgiveness is tough, guys. I think healing, and even I would say forgiveness, is not linear. Meaning I think that there's a chance that like things will come up throughout my whole life, and I'll just have to use my tools that I have developed to take on what I'm feeling in that moment. And that's kind of what I do now. What I teach people, I call it mindset coaching, because I don't teach people like this magical way to get rich, this magical way to heal. I teach people how to develop a mindset and an internal state when they are feeling the feels, when they are going through certain things. Oh gosh. I'm trying to fucking do my hair before I go into this Christmas thing, and I'm talking about childhood trauma, and I'm fucking like, maybe I'm nervous. I don't know. But, yeah, that was another thing. I purposely waited to put this video out because I was mostly concerned about what my abuser and her friends would think about this video. And isn't that sad how like we play small and we don't speak up because we want to protect somebody else, and that's something else we do as victims of childhood trauma. Is you get into this mindset that everybody else is more important than you, including your abuser. So their feelings and what they think is more important than your voice and your story. So be really mindful whenever it comes to sharing your story and how much you're sharing, and are you not sharing because you're trying to protect somebody else. But be very careful of the victim mentality, because it is so poisonous. The victim mentality will literally kill you. It will kill you. It will murder your relationships, your friendships, your work space. I mean, it's so toxic and such an addictive drug, the victim mentality. And I'm saying this with grace and ease. I fully understand why. It's like you were a victim of something, and it's hard to take ownership of the healing whenever you didn't cause the wound. So whenever you are an adult, like, it's really easy to want to blame other people. Like, I never wanted to be wrong. It was like there was this little girl inside me that was like, I will not let one more person tell me what to do, tell me I'm wrong, talk down to me, and if they do, they're fucking gone. And I'm probably going to like let out some vicious fucking raptor in the midst of it, you know? I've really had to learn like how to tame myself and turn the other cheek and be love. And it's hard sometimes whenever you're so used to abuse. There's like this little girl or this little boy that's just like, I'm not going to take one more motherfucking thing. And your defenses are always up. Your defenses are never going to help you. They're never going to help you. They end up hurting you. And you know this whenever you say that thing or you do that thing and you end up regretting it. And this guilt forms, regret forms. And then you're just like, you know what? I'm going to move on. I'm just going to cut those people out of my life because I'm so ashamed of how I behaved. How many of you guys have done that before? I definitely have. And this is a short video, but there's so much that comes with childhood trauma and abuse and abandonment, and it affects every area of your life. But I wanted to go in on a couple points in this video. If there was something that I said that you would like me to elaborate on, please message me and I will make maybe a series or speak with you directly. I know that it's the holidays, and I know that it's like a time of like joy and like family and coming together, and I'm over here talking about fucking child abuse. But it's something that I feel like somebody out there needs to hear, especially in the holidays. It gets lonely. Like, I feel more lonely that there's like this part of me that wants to go fucking get wasted and like call somebody up and ask them if they have like a Xanax, like mostly during the holidays. And I don't actually ever play into it, but I entertain the idea sometimes. There's still that part of me that I battle where I'm just like, do I go find drugs right now to like numb the pain of like knowing that like I ultimately like have pretty much raised myself. I don't have parents. There have been many times where I scroll through my phone and I don't have someone to call whenever I'm down. And you know, but you have to remember that maybe your journey and everything that you've been through leading up until now, I don't care if you're homeless or like, or whatever your situation looks like. I've spoken to some women recently that are legit homeless, and they went to this program that I'm going to be talking about in another video called Teen Challenge, that's also getting shut down for child abuse. But you have to consider that maybe we came into this world and said, yes, please choose me. I'll go that family, that situation, that life, because you were made for greatness. And it doesn't always require suffering and sacrifice, but maybe you needed certain qualities or characteristics that only pain and suffering can grow from, at least this day and age. I can't say that it will always be like that forever and ever and ever, but some of the strongest people that I know, you know, the leaders in the world were shunned and isolated and called crazy, and they were the innovators. They were the thought leaders, you know. So even if it's hard for you right now, or maybe you've already come up, you're on the rise from the fall, just remember this in the back of your head, that whenever you're called, you're fucking called. And just because something happened to you when you were younger, it doesn't mean you have to take responsibility for the wound, but you are responsible for your healing. And you just have to get your shit out there. You have to decide, you know, I'm always asking, like, what would my higher self have me talk about now? What would God, universe, source, higher self have me say right now in the way that I need to say it? If there was no such thing as guilt, if there's no such thing as shame, self-consciousness, or fear, or judgment, what would I do now? And I asked myself this question a couple days ago, and I was like, I would fucking record the motherfucking video. I would just do it and I would post it and I wouldn't rewatch it. And I'm really hoping that the sound is okay on it, but I'm just going to record it and post it. And it's a ramble. It's a rant. Like, I don't even know if I'm hitting points. I don't know if it's like even making sense, but all I know is I have to trust myself and I have to get online and do the thing that I'm scared to do. And I was very scared to record this video. I was very scared to like own my past, a part of it, and talk about the healing part. And I'm still healing from it. I'm still healing from it, guys. And I'm 29 years old. And there are nights where I still like tear up and cry myself to sleep. They're far few in between, but I went from like being suicidal and all I wanted to do was drink and do drugs and like sabotage my life. I wanted everything that I had built to just be taken away from me. I wanted to die. You know, I would purposely put myself in painful situations because, and this is going to sound fucked up, but I liked it. It gave me a sense of satisfaction. And it's because there was still a part of me that was like, this is what you deserve, Rhama. You deserve, I'm going to cry. You deserve pain. You deserve to be alone. You deserve to be isolated. You don't deserve love. You don't deserve wealth. And you know, it makes me tear up because like that little girl inside of me is still healing. Like she needs so much love and I'm the only one that can give it to her. Guys, you're the only one that can give your inner child the love that you need. You have to be your own hero. And it's hard sometimes because that inner child just wants like some parental figure to swoop up and love you the way that you always wanted to be loved and accepted. And I understand that. I understand why the kids kill themselves. I understand why the kids, you know, sabotage and get on drugs and end up making poor choices at a young age, because it's like, it's that lie that you're battling, that it's like, if my fucking parents couldn't do it, then who will? You know, and you have to consider that like, you do get to turn all this bullshit into pure fucking gold. You do get to use your past for good. You do get to use your bullshit and your pain and your trauma, and it gets to be used for good. And maybe that's why it's there in the first place. So I love you guys so much. And I want to inspire you guys to embrace your pain in order to transform it into something that can be used for good, that can be life-changing, world-changing. We need more people leaning into the fear, leaning into the pain, and feeling what it is to feel and talking about it unapologetically and fearlessly. And, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but ask yourself this holiday season, you know, what is it that I've been holding on to for years and years and years? What do I regret? What am I scared of? What can I let go? How can I forgive myself over that thing? How can I step into 2020 a completely new fucking woman, a completely new fucking man? And what is it that I'm not addressing? What is it that I'm ashamed of? What is it that I'm still holding guilt around? So think about that and journal and flow on it and see what comes up for you guys. Healing is not linear. Healing is not linear, and it's okay to be where you're at. It's okay for things to come back up. It doesn't mean that you're not cured or not healing. It doesn't mean that you're not on your way. It just means that this is something that you chose and it's there. So don't identify it, but feel it. In the next couple of videos, I'm going to be kind of building off of this one and talking about some other things that I got into because of my childhood trauma. There was like a human trafficking incident, and I posted about this recently, but I used to sell drugs and make drugs, and I've gotten myself into a lot of trouble, and I want to really break down what was happening energetically So if it's a situation that you're in, or someone that you love, or something that you've come up from, so you can really understand the energy of what's going on without the guilt and the shame, without seeing it as something that's bad or wrong, and inspiring you to utilize it for good and help let it motivate you in your life. And I know that sounds wild. Like, how am I going to let the most fucked up things in my life motivate me and inspire me? But it's always the wound, guys. The light always comes from the wound. The light always comes from the wound. So it doesn't have to be perfect. You're already perfect with all the stuff, everything that you are right now. All of it is what makes you so unique, so perfect, so needed, so chosen, so important to this whole, that this whole thing, everything around us wouldn't exist without you, unless you were here thinking, feeling, and creating with us. That's how essential you are to this whole. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Rhama Dashuri. Wherever you're watching this, if you would like to reach out, if you have a story to share, or if you have any questions, you can find me on any of the social medias, RHAMADASHURI. I love you guys so much, and lean in, enjoy your day today, find ways to be happy, find ways to let go, forgive yourself quickly, and judge yourself less. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.